Brother Sewing and Crafting family. I'm Brother Brand Ambassador Angela Wolf, and we are at your side virtually. And I don't know about you, but that new ad, I'm going to have to check with Cindy, but I'm like sitting here, we're dancing. We're going to have our own little thing going on. So welcome to the party. If you've never been here before, we are live streaming on Brother Sewing and Crafting, YouTube, and Facebook pages. And I can see all of your comments. And I see many of you are already here waiting for us patiently. So great to see you all. You never know. Your neighbor might be sewing next to you or crafting. Hopefully both. So let's bring Cindy to the party. We have a great show for you today. We are featuring the ScanNCut again. And I know we've had a lot of requests for that. So we've got a few fun things planned for you this month. Cindy, come on to the party. How are you?
I'm great. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I don't know about you, but when I'm watching that, I'm sitting here dancing, and then I look down in the lobby, and you're dancing too.
Oh, you can't help it.
I know. So, you know, we have had so many requests about the ScanNCut, all the new features that are on it, especially My Connect, things like that. But you have a great project today on the ScanNCut. I think people are going to be very excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, and anybody can do it. I tried to make this one. If you have a ScanNCut and you have a sewing machine, you can do this project. If you have a ScanNCut and you don't have a sewing machine, you can do it without the stitching because you can just iron it together. If you don't want to do it in fabric, you can do it that way. So I tried to make it a universal project instead of using something that not everybody has this time.
Hey, I love that. And you know, when you said pressing in place, I was thinking, do I have to get the stapler? How are we going to put this together? So you have to show them this. This is the cutest project ever.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to learn is a quick and easy way to do mitered corners to make a table runner or napkins or whatever you want to do to make a table runner. But it did turn out stinking cute, I think, anyhow.
That's adorable. So that's really cute. So is that all applique then that you did there?
Yep. Those are all applique. Manually applique. I actually sewed them together.
That sounds fantastic. Well, Cindy, I don't know about you, but I've been sewing up a storm. I'm trying to make new tops every day, but Thanksgiving is next week, and I'm actually having my family in town, and I need to work on the table decor, and I think you're going to help me today.
I said, you know, if I had realized how late I was going to be running on this project, it would have been a mini project.
Hey, that's okay. I can do mini.
So we're going to do this in a miniature version today, to basically a napkin. And we'll just go through the steps of how you would put it together, but not necessarily watch me stitch around every single applique. But I do have a few tricks on a machine. If you have a machine that has, and I'm sorry for being hoarse. It is simply talking from Houston and Novi after having your voice resting for a year. But yeah, there's a few tricks on the machine that I used. If you have a knee lifter, that's great. I did not use my knee lifter. I used my multifunction foot controller instead of the knee lifter because you don't always want to have pivot on because you don't have control when the foot raises. If you stop, that foot raises. And I like to have control of when I actually want it to raise and not. So,
I just had that problem last week when I was sewing stretch velvet, and I had that on, and I went to turn a corner and it went up, and I'm like, no, I didn't want that. So you're right. You do want to have.
I mean, there's time. I mean, I use pivot a lot, especially if I'm just doing straight seams and rotating and whatever. But when you're doing something that's got a lot of curves and bends, using the multi-function foot controller or a knee lift is an easier way to go.
That sounds good. All right, well, take it away. Let's get started.
Let's flip the cameras over there. So we're going to start with mitered corners. Oh, wrong camera. Oops, sorry.
You turned into 3 blue dots.
Yeah, hold on. Somehow my camera is not showing up as an option.
Oh, we just had this issue. It is a live show, and if any of you know about live shows, you know what's going to happen. But
okay, take me off for a minute. I'm going to unplug and plug back in.
All right, I'll bring her back. So while she's unplugging, coming back in, I want to give you a little heads up. Next week on Tuesday at noon, I will be coming on and doing an unboxing of the new ScanNCut. So many of you have said, what's different? What's in the box? How does this work? So that will be live next Tuesday at noon. So put that on the calendar. And let's bring Cindy back. I see you up here now.
Yes, I have no idea why that happened, but it did. So we just kind of you're going to have to survive with me. All right, guys. So I found a quick way to do this. To make those mitered corners, used to I would fold it in, mark it, fold it in and mark it. But this is an faster way. Make whatever size seam you want. So I have a inch seam here, and I've just got a ruler that's allowing me to iron on it, and just press it into place all the way around. Okay, quick, easy, simple. I've already got mine pressed and ready to go. After you've done that, I'm going to take my pressing pad and move it out of the way. You're going to take your corners and do corner to corner here. See, I've got that just like that.
And you just folded it once, right, Cindy?
I just folded it once. That is the beauty of this method. It's a one fold. You don't have to multiple fold. And you're going to take your ruler and you're going to go basically at a parallel here at the point. And take your chalk or your marking pen, whatever you like, and mark that spot all the way around. So there's one corner, and I think I've got all mine marked here. There's another, and let me do that one more time. So you bring it to a point here. Counterintuitive. We're going to go straight across this seam, right up against the point.
Hey, Cindy, raise that up just a little bit. We can just barely see the end. And so you're basically on a 45-degree angle, right?
Basically you want it right across the seam here. And then you're just going to mark it with your chalk or your marking pen, whatever you like, right at that point. Let me do one more here. So you take it, fold it to the point, flat edge, right along a grid line. It's like I said, it's counterintuitive, but this is magical, truly magical. All right, so there's that. Let's go over to the sewing machine.
All right. Well,
like I've done all 5 of mine.
We like magic. All right.
Okay. So let's do a little setup here on the machine. We're going to go into sewing first, and I'm going to do a straight stitch middle with a tie off. And everybody has a straight stitch on their machine, but let's go into our settings here. And I want to change my, so my presser foot, I've got auto down, I've got press to trim, but there's another little guy here, needle position stitch placement. If you have that on your machine, that makes part of this really easy to do, especially when you're trying to figure out where you want your needle to drop when you're doing an applique. The other thing that I did was my multifunction foot controller. I have to figure out where that one is. I didn't think to check. Where is that bad boy? There we go. All right, so you'll notice that I changed my multifunction foot controller, my left thing, to presser foot up and down. You have multiple things that you can choose. That's what I chose for this particular one. That's what I was saying. If you don't want to use a knee lift, that's the easiest route to go. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on my laser guideline. If you don't have that, that's not a big deal. I think everybody can sew straight. I've got it lined up with my straight stitch. We're going to go ahead and close that. And let's see here. Let's go ahead and sew.
Cindy, what fabric are you using, by the way?
This is a flannel. It's a shirtwaist flannel.
Okay.
And it really is pretty slick, I will have to say. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of start my foot there. I'm going to go tie off. And then go ahead and hit the pedal to the metal here. And you're going to do that on all 4 sides.
Did you mention what stitch length you're using?
I just left it at the default. It's 2.5.
Okay.
I did not do anything special there. And y'all get the hang of this?
We got the hang of it. That's pretty easy so far.
It is super simple on this part, I will have to say. But it is magical. When I'm done, you shall see. And I would normally tie off on the other end. I'm just cheating. It really doesn't. It's not going to hurt it one way or the other because that side's tucked in.
Josie says, I'm pretty sure everyone has a straight stitch on their machine. You are really, I hope you're right, Josie.
I'm pretty sure that is on every single machine in the whole wide world.
Sewing
Okay.
machine.
All right. So we have these ready. Now, I will tell you, normally, I would take my rotary cutter out and do the whole 9 yards, but we're not going to worry with that. We're just going to kind of take it, do a little bit of an angle on this side, and then cut straight across. Maybe I should get my better scissors.
I was thinking those are some hot scissors there.
Those are more of my crafting scissors.
Can you put that up just a little bit higher, Cindy? We can't quite see. There you go.
There you go.
All right.
So
You're
I've
cutting-
got just a little bit of a point.
Okay.
So I angled on this side and then just cut straight across.
So you're cutting right next to your stitch line.
Yep, about 1/4 inch away.
Okay.
And you could pull these out if you want. It doesn't matter. Once you've done that, I think I've done all 4 of them, haven't I?
I counted 4 unless you have more on there. More corners.
I think I did all 4 of them. All right, we're going to press those seams open. Am I high enough? There we go.
There you go. That's a little better.
You'll just kind of take your iron and press those seams open.
The seam allowance?
Yep.
Okay.
Do that on all 4 sides. I'm not going to worry about it this time, but you would do that on all 4 sides and then watch. So see, here's my raw edge. When I take and turn that, I'm going to take my stylus and poke out the corner. You can then look there at that perfect mitered corner.
Oh, wow. That's nice.
Then just take your ruler or just go ahead and go press. I just kind of pop my ruler back underneath there and press back all the way around. Then you're ready to sew it together.
Is very easy.
Then you would go back to your sewing machine and basically stitch the line that you want to stitch from this side. Super simple, easy to go, and you have a perfect finished edge.
And that, I would have to say, is one of the easiest mitered corners I've ever seen. That's pretty simple.
I mean, truly, I used to mark and go, and this is a much simpler method. And it works beautifully.
Very nice.
Once you do it on all corners. Okay, so now let's go back to the computer for a minute. That's the first part.
All right. And while you're coming back to the computer, I see someone just said, you popped in late. Is there a replay? Of course. So you are on Facebook. So if you click share at the end of this video, share it to your page. That's the easiest way to go back and watch. So we are moving on to the ScanNCut now. I saw somebody saying, where's the ScanNCut? It's coming. It's coming. You got to finish your your tablecloth first.
you got to make the table runner first, or the napkin, or whatever you're making first, and then you can go forth and multiply. And I mean, if you want me to show you how to stitch that, I'll do that when we get back to the sewing machine. But really, I think everybody can do a top stitch.
Yeah.
Okay. So on the ScanNCut, I actually got this project from Canvas Workspace. It is a free project on Canvas Workspace, but I spiced it up a little bit. If you type in autumn and press enter, it'll search for everything with the word autumn in it. And these right here are where I've got the items. So you'll notice right here you have an acorn and a couple of leaves. That's where I pulled it from. So I got rid of that leaf. I didn't like it. And I simply, I'm going to ungroup these. Make them a bit bigger. You can make them whatever size you want, guys. So remember, this is your table runner. It's not mine. You can make it however you want. I basically just kind of designed on here to get an idea of what I wanted. So I'm going to bring that one to the front. So arrange, bring to the front. There's and I'll play with this more later, but these are the basic parts. The only thing that I added, just so you know, I'm going to make this guy straight again for a minute. I came in and I grabbed my line drawing tool.
Oops. Sorry about that.
And I went turned on snap to grid, and I basically drew straight lines across. Oops. We'll just grab that. Let's grab that one and just duplicate it. And then I took those lines. Oops, I didn't mean to rename it. And I went into edit and I distributed them. Let's go about 0.75 here to where they're evenly distributed. And I changed those two drawing lines, but I also lined them up to where they were center aligned here. And let's change them to drawing lines because we are going to draw instead of cut these guys. Let's group them together. And in my show this afternoon, I'll show how I made this whole thing, but I've grouped by Control G. So here we go. Land them on top of this. Let's turn off snap to grid for a minute because you can't get things lined up if it's snapped now. Okay. So I basically kind of went in here and said, let's rotate you. And if you need to make your lines larger so that they'll go over the whole thing, you can do that. Just pull it up. And I copied that and I pasted it and I rotated it the opposite angle. Easy for me to say. So let's go in here and change rotate to till it gets to the angle we want. And those are basically going to draw. And it doesn't matter if they extend beyond it. You can futz with them if you want. For now, we're good. Why is that being so ornery today? But you'll basically, you want to get to where your lines are basically overlapping each other. I'm not going to spend a lot more time on this. I'm going to go ahead and bring up the one I have. So
hey,
let's
Cindy,
go to open recent.
While you're showing that, just because, can you just show them on your towel real quick what you're doing? Because some people didn't see that exactly. There you go. Bring that up. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
So basically, those lines that I was putting on, if you bring up my screen, here's my design.
Great.
Okay. So I've made it miniature here for the napkins. And what I did was hid anything that I didn't want to send, and I've sent them all via wireless transfer. So anything that, if you don't want to send something, you just come over into your layers menu and turn off the eyeball for a few minutes. And I'm going to send basically the acorn tops here first and nothing else. So there we go. I'm ready to send those. I've actually already got them all the way on my computer, but this gives you an idea how to do it. Export transfer, and I'll go slower over it on my show this afternoon. Transfer file via the internet. That will be there when I get over there. I've actually transferred everything already and have saved it onto my ScanNCut machine so that all of my layers are already over there. But when I'm ready to transfer something else, I can simply come in and hide what I don't want to transfer and turn on what I do. So I'm going to turn on the acorn bottoms just to give you this idea. Turn off everything else. Acorn bottoms is all we want. I'm missing one. There it is. So now you've got your bottoms, file, Yes, they were the ones that my acorn tops are grouped, Cindy. Export, transfer. And so I'm not going to do this one because I've already got some sitting over there. We've got the top sitting over there. So you ready to go?
Sure.
Okay. Let's go over to our ScanNCut machine.
All right, well, she's headed over there. Be sure to ask your questions. And I know a lot of you have asked about Canvas Workspace. There are a ton of free designs on there. And it works in your ScanNCut, no matter what ScanNCut you have. So let me bring her back up. But just so you know, it's free to use. And you might really enjoy a lot of the holiday projects on there. All right, we can see you great. We're at your...
There we go.
We're everywhere.
My ScanNCut now. I need to turn off my iron before I burn myself. Or actually just move it out of the way. Okay, so if you're retrieving from Canvas Workspace, you go retrieve data to your Canvas Workspace. And there are my acorn tops that I just sent over. So you can simply move them apart. So you'll notice I actually grouped my lines with my acorn tops. Now I am going to place some brown fabric on my standard mat, okay? And you can tell this is not a brand new standard mat. I do have a heat applied material on the back so that it makes it easier to applique things. Here's my fabric. And you'll notice I'm not using a brand new pristine piece of fabric. I'm using leftover from what I had left over. And I'm just going to slap it on my mat here. And we'll place it in, and I'm going to press load. Now, normally I tell you that I use my rotary blade when I don't want to have a backing on it, but I will tell you that from experience with this particular material, it is kind of a flannelly material. It cut much better with the rotary blade. We are going to switch out our rotary blade though first because we always want to draw before you cut. And where did my little pen go? No telling. Let's just grab another one. Normally I would use my water erasable one, but I don't know where it rolled off to.
That's because it's a live show. Probably that squirrel that chewed through my internet cord.
Yeah, it's rolled off somewhere. So we're just going to use the black pen. It does not come with this one, but I actually have a few ScanNCuts. You all know that. So open the garbage can lid, put your pen in, put your top at the top, and just simply insert it into the cartridge area, the holder area. And let's go ahead and say background scan and start. It's going to scan a picture of what I've got on my mat. And once that's done, I've got to get the right camera. There we go. We'll place our items. I have changed my view here to a light view. So we can simply take these pieces and plop them on here wherever you've got space. And if you want to go into edit, you can actually come into object edit. You could rotate these guys because I think I could maximize this a little bit better if I rotate them. Let's go back just a little bit. They were angled on my Canvas Workspace, and I really didn't want to mess with that because that gave me my visual. But here it doesn't matter. So there, get them somewhat how you want them. There we go. That one might fit right there. Nope. We'll just pop it right there. So we're ready to go. We're going to touch OK. We're going to touch OK again. I'm ready to rock and roll. So we now are ready to tell it what we want it to do. We want it to draw first because we've got our drawing cartridge in. And if I chose cut, it would tell me you have the wrong holder in. You can't do that. So we're going to go ahead and press start, and it's going to draw our lines for us to be able to make our crosshatch work. So, so Cindy has never seen the little tray that we hold our little items in. That's pretty good.
That's the best little secret spot in the world.
Yes, it keeps hidden items away, so we don't have to mess with them.
Still can never find everything though. So
And
that's
oh, this actually shows up much better. So y'all are going to be able to see the black better than what I could see with the blue. But normally you would not want to do black. All right, so let's look and see. Actually, y'all can't see this until I get the other one. Let's go ahead and touch OK. I am going to switch out my holders and put my rotary auto blade in. I will tell you, when I created mine, the original, I actually did do fine mode with the rotary auto blade, but I went back and did this last night without it, and it did fine. So we'll go ahead and I'll show you where the settings are. When you're using your rotary auto blade, there's a setting for normal and for fine on page 2 of your settings. I'm going to use normal today because fine does take much, much longer to cut. So we're going to go ahead and touch OK and touch start. If you have fabric that's delicate, it will do a better job with it. So now it's going to cut. And what's auto about the rotary auto blade is that it's continually adjusting its angle. Not pressure, not depth, but angle. So you'll see it move back and forth a lot more than a regular blade. The difference between a rotary blade and a standard blade is a standard blade is more like a sharp knife that you pull across something, whereas the rotary blade rolls across it. So it's not going to drag your fabric and pull. Okay?
We love that. Hey, by the way, do you remember when those drawers started on the ScanNCut? Which
with the DX series.
With the DX series. That was a good
That
question.
was one of the things that we love about our DXs.
Yeah.
So this is just about done. Once this is done, I'm going to get one leaf started for you. And I think you all can handle the acorns themselves.
This is fun to watch. So you drew on it. Now you're cutting on it. Nothing else had. Marcia is so excited, by the way. She just went down and snabbed a rotary blade. And good job, by the way. A universal pen holder.
Okay, so here we go. They're done. And you can see, here they are. With little lines on them. So let me flip cameras here so you can see overhead. Can you tell that they have little bitty lines on them drawn?
Yeah, if we look really, really, really close.
There. So those are those are the acorn tops. Let's go ahead and put us some leaf fabric down. Now this one's fun. This one's a stretchy knit with sparkles and texture. So this is kind of like a velvet, stretch velvet, I guess I would say. I'll put a red one on here too.
I was just going to say that kind of looks like my top, except in green.
It's kind of a stretch velvet, which is really pretty cool. And since I'm using the rotary auto blade, I don't have to worry about 2 different textures, 2 different thicknesses. The rotary auto blade is simply going to adjust based on blade depth. Excuse me, on angle. So let's flip back over here and go find my other patterns. So if I was sending back over here, I would do retrieve data and Canvas workspace. But remember I said I saved all mine over here, so I've got these saved. I'll go to my last page because that's where I saved them. Here's my leaves. And all of the leaves are the same size. At least that's the way I made mine. So it doesn't matter what color I put up, but I do want to do a background scan to see where my fabrics are located.
While you're doing that, I'm going to put this up. I just saw someone just said, where do I even go to get one of those rotary blades? And I just put visit your local Brother dealer down below. You just go to Brother Sews, type in your zip code, and you can find it. Okay. Marcia wants to know, do you have a backing on your fabric there, Cindy?
I do have backing on my fabric because I'm going to adhere it to my project. It is not necessary with the rotary auto blade, but since I'm planning on adhering it to my project, I went ahead and did it.
Which
just
means
makes life easier.
You are not using the fabric mat, correct?
I am not using the fabric mat. I have a standard mat on. I could have used my standard or my low tack. It does not matter. Either one would go. All right, I'm just trying to get these to fit on here. So there's 2. If you're doing a table runner, you would do 4. Since we're doing napkins, we don't need to do more than 2. I'm going to go ahead and select all. And so that I can duplicate them, I'm going to unify them for a minute, and we'll add 2 on. And we'll add another one so that our total number is 2 sets. And I'll just take those and drag them over there. Looks like we're on. We're ready for these to go cutting. So I'm going to go ahead and touch OK. Touch OK again. Touch OK one more time. And now what are we going to do? We are going to tell it we want to cut. And we're ready for it to go. Yes, ma'am.
I'm very excited to see this because a lot of people do not realize that you can actually cut something like a stretch velvet. I should have put maybe do some cutouts on my sleeve. I think I might have to add some leaves.
Yeah, the stretch is really cool. The fact that you can do that and do it very well is pretty darn amazing.
I think that's,
for
me, I think that's where the rotary blade really made a big difference, because instead of pushing the fabric the way that would make it very challenging to do something with stretch velvet, now is a breeze.
Yes, so y'all can, that thing's going to do its thing, and I'm going to come back over here and show you how to place these.
Wonderful.
While it's cutting, since I've got all of my pieces pre-cut, we should be good to actually work on this. All right, let me scoot up. I forgot to bring a pressing cloth in. Uh-oh. All right, so I started with my acorns and I just kind of laid them down, giving you an idea of how I designed this. Really, there's no precision because you are the designer. It doesn't matter. If you want yours to be somewhat different than mine, go forth and multiply and have at it. So, I mean, really, the only thing I did was try to keep it off my seam. And since I don't have a seam here, that's kind of, we're playing with the invisible seam. Here we go. And there's that stretch velvet.
Wow. That's
with
really
sparkles. I bought every bit that they had left on the bolt. And you'll notice that I have my leaves mirrored, so one's going one way and one's going the other. And I did chop my tips off, I will tell you that. But this gave me an idea where I wanted to start. That's how I'm going to put it together, okay?
Okay.
All I'm going to do right now is basically press this down. Let me see if I can't slam my iron down on here. Okay, looks like we're set. While that guy's still going at it, we'll come play over at the machine.
That sounds good. Speaking of velvet, Joanna, thank you. This is actually the bright purple, the one I didn't think I liked, but I like it. I might have to make some purple leaves. All right.
Okay, guys.
Great, Cindy.
So I used the triple stitch, and I'm going to change my thread color here for a minute. All right. And I started with my acorn tops. And I'm not going to do all of them, but I'll get you the idea. This is where that dropping that needle just slightly comes into play. You all are going to like this little trick. So my triple stitch, I'm going to put my laser guide. Actually, I'm going to move my triple stitch over. So I'm going to do left, right, shift till it's in the middle. So now it's smack 3.25 is where I've got my left, right, shift. So that's hard to say. So that the stitch is going to be in the middle of my foot. I have my in foot on because it has more of an open area. If you have an open toe foot, you could use that as well. That's up to you. All right. So we're ready to go. Let's flip to this one. Now, remember I said that little, that needle drop position, you're going to see what happens. I'm going to put my foot down. Right now it's anchored. When I touch Let me see if I can get this up. Hold on. When you touch your needle drop button, this guy right here, your needle will go part way down, okay? And your foot will slightly raise and hover. So, wrong one. So that's what I've just done. And now you can see I can move it, but my needle's part way down so I can see where it's going to start. And then I simply basically do my triple stitch across those little lines. And you're going to do that all the way for all of them. Do your little tie off and trim. And that's really what I did for every single line. I pushed my foot down and then I did my needle drop, and you can see how that needle just kind of drops a little bit and releases your foot just slightly. So now I'm just going to press and go. Make sense?
Yeah, it does. Can you move your left hand just to the left a little bit?
I didn't hear you, so hold on.
I just was asking if you could move your left hand to the left, or
have they ever tried to sew sideways?
Yeah, we always are sewing sideways over our cameras. It's okay. You don't need hands. Look, Mom.
I'm going to put my foot down again and show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to put my foot down and then do my needle drop, and you'll see how that foot just raises slightly. That allows you to be able to drop it where you want it to go. And you can just jam on these. So I'm not going to sit and do every single line, but you get the concept, right?
We get the concept. It's very cool. And now we can really see those lines too, the ones that you drew in that everyone was kind of like, why would you even do that? Now we know.
Yep, I'm just getting, because you're just going to stitch right over the top of them. And if you use a water or an air erasable pen, I use the water because I wanted it to stay around longer.
Right.
So how am I doing on time? We're good. Okay, so let's talk about blanket stitches. And how would I do this as a blanket stitch? Let's come set our blanket stitch up. On your quilting menu, Q stitches. And if you look on, most of the machines have a quilting stitch on them. Let me go ahead and thread here, and you should see a blanket stitch. If you don't have one, if you have a Brother machine, you can actually make one on the majority of our machines, but this is our blanket stitch. I'm going to move my laser guideline for myself. If you don't have one, you're just going to eyeball it, but I'm going to go ahead and put my, and you can hear my leaves have stopped cutting there. So I've got my blanket stitch set up.
That was so quiet. We couldn't even hear it, Cindy.
Oh, well, yeah, they just finished cutting out. If we, they just finished doing their thing. All right, guys. So what I did was I thought about this project in how exactly is it going to, I'm sorry, I'm going to make you sick with cameras today here. How can I make this stitch around without having to cut? And I figured out that if I start here, go around the whole thing and come back in through here, I can actually get it done without, except for this part right here. So we'll just kind of skip that guy right there. When I was doing my project, I didn't iron them both down at the same time. I did one at a time. Guys, I'm having a hard time deciding where to put my hand here for you to be able to see it. Once again, I'm going to do that needle drop thing, and you can see I can shift and figure out where I want my needle to be. And let's go ahead and start our blanket stitch. And this is where, once we get to the curves, you're going to see why I changed my foot, or why you want my stop position instead of using pivot. So I'm going to go back one stitch and come back forward, and then I'm going to lift my foot with my presser foot or your knee lift so that I can actually see where it's going to go. And I usually do this. I go a little slower when I'm doing this. When it's going to, you can count stitches basically. Let's lift. It's going to go forward, back, and forward. And then you can stop and pivot if you need to here. So as you're going around the curves, if you'll use that, bring your foot up or your knee lift, whichever you chose to go with. I'm not a knee lift person. I like to do it with my foot control, or you can use your foot up and down key on the front of your machine. Either of those, any of those will work.
Hey, Cindy, what kind of thread are you using? Are you using embroidery thread or just regular?
I am using embroidery thread on this one because I wanted some sheen to it.
Wonderful. Great question.
I use a regular bobbin in the back, but see, now I'm going to pivot here.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes where I want it to go, and then I'm going to lift it again. And I will say, I hate to say I am a terrible posture sewer, but I am a terrible posture sewer. I usually am leaning over this so I can see it because it's so far away from me right now. So let's lift. And you're just going to go around this guy, and you would do the same thing with the leaves. And the leaves, my suggestion to you guys is just to go slow and have fun with it. It's kind of cathartic if you think about it. All right, so right here where it's about to touch my acorn, the top, I pivot. And now it's going to take the bite out the other way. Whoops. Pivot slowly, though. And you could just go around the rest of the way. Are we good with that?
That looks good. Yeah.
Okay, let's go back over here and see what happened with our cutting.
So Mary, I
what?
do see Mary J says she likes an open toe foot. Yes, you can get an open toe foot. Brother has those.
Yes, you can use your open toe foot. That was one of the things I said. You're more than welcome to use your open toe foot if you would like to. I just used my end foot because that's the one I could find. And there we go. Now, what I'm going to tell you right here is, as I said, fine mode does fine. Normal mode sometimes leaves little hairs. So I've got a couple of little hairs here. And I could just simply pull them or I can trim them, and it's easier to trim. 3 out of 4 did beautifully. I must not have been tight on my mat on the other one. If I had done fine mode, which would have taken longer, we wouldn't have had any hairs. So there you go. Now, when you're ready to do basically I did the 2 acorns down, and then I did all of my leaves, but I did chop off the tips of my leaves. By that, I mean, I chopped this part off.
Oh, yeah.
I could have done that in the software, but I just decided to do it when I was actually stitching them because it made more sense for me to do that.
I agree. Anne says that stitching looks like hand stitching, the blanket stitch. I agree.
Yes. And that's, I mean, sometimes, yeah, could I do this on the embroidery machine? Yes. Would it, I mean, but not everybody has embroidery software. Not everybody wants to go to the trouble of creating an embroidery design if they're going to do something one time.
Right.
And it's not always feasible, and not everybody has an embroidery machine. So, but sometimes truly just sitting there and taking the time and doing the stitching is cathartic. I mean, you get in this rhythm, and you sit there and you can hear it go forward, back, forward. Okay, I want to stop, pivot, forward, back, forward. Okay, I want to stop, pivot. So yeah, I mean, it really is just however you want to do it. Now, I'll tell you the size of my table runner was 1.5 yards long by half a yard wide, or by 20 inches, 22 inches. So, and then I trimmed it up, made sure I was straight. And I did go, since I did follow when I was cutting along the pattern so that when it was put together, it looked even.
That really looks good. And, I was reading some of the comments when you did that mitered edge. I love that.
So I'm telling you, that miter edge is a bomb. I mean, it takes out a couple of steps, and it is absolutely a perfect turn. So and super simple.
Super simple. I'm just seeing there's comments rolling in. Not too many more questions. I think you've answered just about all of them, but I know there's a 20-second delay, so we won't hang up on you yet. That is such a fun design. I see a lot of people saying that they would like to do it as just a whole table cover. That would look nice.
And you could. And the other thing I was thinking about doing, I cut plenty of leaves because I really wasn't sure exactly how I was going to do this at the end. You could scatter leaves through the center of it. So I think you have a picture of it, of the full item. I
do. Let me go bring that up. Hold on one sec here.
If you don't, I do, I think. I think I saved it to my computer.
I just have to open it.
So, I mean, you could scatter some leaves along the center, depending on how long. And like I said, if you don't have time to sew or you're not a sewer, you can, or sewist, you can actually just iron them on and go forth and multiply.
So this is so cute, Cindy.
So, I mean, I was thinking about possibly throwing some more leaves along where I've got the cutting board laid out. And just scattering some leaves across the center of it so you could place.
Very cute. You can really see, I'm going to bring this up just a little bit more because with the lighting on your photo, look at how awesome that stitching looks for the acorns. I love that.
I mean, it just adds a little bit of something, and drawing your lines give you something to follow along, especially if you're not good at straight stitching. That gives you that guide to be able to follow along. And it's something that your ScanNCut can do for you. Perfectly spaced.
Very cute. Very cute. I see somebody that rolled in a little bit late that said, where can you get these designs? And we talked about that at Canvas Workspace. I'll bring that website up one more time for you. And don't forget, if you rolled in late, all you have to do is click share if you're on Facebook, and this will go right to your page. You can go back and watch. Or if you're on YouTube, there's a share button where you can put it into a little folder to watch later. You can share however you want to share it.
Yeah, and I look at Canvas Workspace for inspiration a lot. Whether you're into fabric or into card making, you could make cards. You could make place cards. If you're doing the whole Thanksgiving big dinner thing, you can make place cards out of those. It's just inspiration. I use those cut files for different things, not necessarily what the project was originally intended.
I'm with you on that. I think that this is what I should focus on, since my cooking we know is not so fabulous, but I'm going to be having family over, so I will just have a beautiful table and let them do the cooking. How's that?
There you go.
Oh, that's fun. All right, Cindy, this was an awesome project. And I see many of you, the comments have kind of frozen, so there must be something going on with Facebook. So I'm sorry if I'm missing your comments, but we always go back and check that out too. So if you look below, though, if you're doing something with the ScanNCut, be sure to use hashtag ScanNCut, because Brother loves to see what you're working on. So, you know, we always do hashtag Brother Sews for our sewing project. Don't forget the hashtag ScanNCut.
Yep. And please share your projects. We always like to get inspiration from you guys as well. It's not all about us.
Oh, I know. And it's so fun to see. I'm looking forward to see what everybody does with that. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to use that rotary blade, and I might have to cut myself some new sleeves because I didn't realize how easy that would cut stretch velvet.
It cuts it beautifully. Just make sure your mat's clean if you're not going to have a backing on it. So if you have a clean mat, you're golden.
You're good to go. Awesome. Well, Cindy, this has been a great show. Brother, thank you for letting your brand ambassadors take over the page. Just before we go, Cindy, I know you're going to be showing more about this project this afternoon on your page. So yes. If you go to, what is your Facebook handle?
Cynthia's Embroidery 1, or my YouTube channel, Cynthia's Embroidery.
And that's today at 4:30 Eastern Standard Time. Tomorrow at 1:30 Eastern Standard Time, I will be on my page sewing some more stretch velvet, but I should use the ScanNCut to cut it out, make it so much faster. And that's tomorrow. And then Thursday at noon, again, we have another Brother show for you. I cannot believe Thanksgiving's next week, though. That means I really have to get on the program with these cards, tables, table decoration. And I think I'm going to do what your mitered corner was the easiest, fastest thing I've ever seen.
I'm telling you, that's the easiest way I found to do it. And I just love the fact that it's finished edged when I get in there. And then all you've got to do is top stitch it.
I agree. Awesome, awesome. Well, Cindy, thank you so much. Brother, thank you for letting us take over your page. Until next time, happy sewing and crafting.
Bye, guys.